I didn't catch her cheating the moment it started. I caught it the moment she stopped caring if I noticed. It was a Tuesday night, and she laughed at her phone in a way she hadn't laughed with me in months, then locked the screen when I looked up. Too fast, too practiced. And when I asked who it was, she said, "No one," with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. That was the first cut, small but sharp. She started coming home later with excuses that changed every time I asked. First it was work, then traffic, then, "Why are you interrogating me?" She kept her phone face down now, always on silent, always within reach, and every time I walked into a room, she would subtly angle her body away from me, like I was the threat, not the husband. I told myself I was paranoid, that marriages go through phases, but then she stopped saying my name, she stopped touching me, and when I tried to talk, she'd sigh and say I was exhausting, dramatic, insecure. That word became her favorite weapon, insecure. And the night I asked her directly if there was someone else, she laughed and said, "You really think anyone would want me?" I apologized that night, even though I didn't know why. But as she went to bed smiling at her phone again, my chest tightened with a thought I couldn't escape anymore. What if the worst part wasn't that she was lying to me, but that she was enjoying it? And that was the moment I decided to stop trusting my heart and start watching the details, not knowing that one small detail waiting for me would change everything. Once I started watching, everything unraveled faster than I was ready for. She changed her passwords overnight. She started showering the moment she came home like she needed to wash something off her skin. She began picking fights out of nowhere. Small things turned into explosions. No matter what I did, I was wrong, and she made sure I knew it. She left the house more often, but stopped telling me where she was going. Just grabbed her keys and said, "Don't wait up." One night, I noticed she'd bought new lingerie I'd never seen before, and when I asked, she shrugged and said it was for herself, then laughed and added, "Not everything is about you." Another cut, deeper this time. Her phone never left her hand anymore. Not during dinner, not during movies, not even in bed. It lit up constantly with notifications she'd swipe away before I could see, and if I shifted too close, she'd turn her screen down and roll away from me. I started waking up in the middle of the night to the glow of her phone under the blanket and the soft tapping of her fingers, and when I asked what she was doing, she said she couldn't sleep and told me to stop spying on her. That word again, spying, like I was already guilty of something. Then came the voice notes, whispered messages sent from the bathroom with the fan running, her laughter muffled, intimate, not meant for me. Every instinct screamed, but she trained me to doubt myself. Every time I questioned anything, she flipped it back on me, said my jealousy was ruining our marriage, said she felt suffocated, said maybe we needed space. And the scariest part wasn't the lies, it was how calm she was while telling them, like she believed them, like she needed me confused and apologizing, because the more unsure I became, the freer she was. And the night she came home smelling like a cologne I didn't own, looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're imagining things," I realized this wasn't just distance anymore. This was a performance, and I was the only one in the dark, not knowing that the very next day I would find something I couldn't unsee. I wasn't even looking for proof when it happened. That's what makes it worse. She left her tablet on the kitchen, and I almost walked past it until the screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize, followed by a message preview that said, "Last night wasn't enough." Then another message came in, "I can still taste you." I told myself there had to be an explanation, a misunderstanding, anything, but my fingers moved on their own and unlocked the screen because I knew her passcode. She'd never bothered to change that. The messages weren't hidden. They were casual, full of inside jokes and plans and intimacy, photos I'd never seen, compliments she hadn't given me in years, and dates lined up on nights she said she was working late. Then I saw a message sent just minutes earlier. "He suspects nothing." And that's when the betrayal turned personal, because it wasn't just cheating, it was strategy. I heard the shower turn off and panic hit me all at once. I locked the tablet and put it back exactly where it was. She walked into the kitchen wrapped in a towel, kissed my cheek like everything was normal, and asked if I wanted coffee. I nodded, unable to speak, watching her lie to my face with effortless grace. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying. She wasn't afraid of getting caught. She was confident I wouldn't confront her, confident she could keep bending reality until I broke. And as she smiled at me across the counter like nothing had changed, I realized the evidence wasn't just on that screen anymore. It was in her eyes, calm, detached, and I knew that if I said anything right then, she'd destroy me with denial. So I stayed silent. But inside, I made a decision. If she wanted to play this game, I would let her think she was winning, not knowing that I was about to step straight into the most manipulative phase of her lies. I didn't confront her right away because I needed to understand how deep the lie went. When I mentioned she seemed distant, she sighed heavily and said she was tired of carrying the emotional weight of the relationship alone. She told me I'd changed, that I was cold, suspicious. She began rewriting our history in real time, claiming we'd been been unhappy for years, that she'd tried to talk and I never listened. Every time I brought up a concrete detail, she dismissed it as coincidence or accused me of spying, invading her privacy, breaking her trust. She cried in my arms one night and said she felt trapped with someone who didn't trust her, and I held her while knowing she'd sent messages to another man less than an hour earlier. She started saying things like, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't question me," turning love into a leash. And when I pulled away emotionally, she noticed immediately, asking why I was acting strange, why I was being distant now, as if she wasn't the one who built the distance brick by brick. I realized she wasn't just hiding an affair anymore. She was erasing me from my own marriage, and I knew that the next thing I found wouldn't be an accident. It would be the moment she finally slipped, the moment the mask cracked, and I was closer to that moment than either of us realized. The slip came when she got careless. She asked me to fix something on her laptop and left the room without a second glance, and there it was, an email notification popping up at the corner of the screen, a hotel confirmation for a night. I clicked before I could talk myself out of it, and everything lined up too perfectly. His name in the guest details, a city she'd never mentioned, a room booked for two. That was the moment something inside me went quiet. Not loud, not explosive, just cold. I checked the calendar and saw the pattern stretching back months, trips, lies, moments I'd blamed myself for. And then I found the photo folder she'd hidden but forgotten to lock. Images of them together smiling, places I thought she'd been alone. Her wearing that lingerie, her looking alive in a way she never did with me anymore. And the final twist hit when I saw a message draft, saved but not sent. "I think I'm ready to leave him soon." My hands went numb, because this wasn't just an affair, it was an exit plan. I didn't raise my voice when I finally spoke. That's what surprised her. I just asked how the retreat was, and watched the hesitation flicker across her face before the lie slid out, perfectly formed. And I nodded, like I believed it, then placed the printed hotel confirmation on the table between us, and waited. The silence stretched so long I could hear my own heartbeat. She didn't apologize, didn't panic. She smiled slowly and asked why I'd been snooping, said this was exactly why she'd been pulling away, said I'd forced her into this. And when I told her I knew about him, about the messages, about the plans to leave, her expression hardened into something I didn't recognize, cold and calculated. She said she'd fallen out of love a long time ago, that I was safe and predictable, and he made her feel alive. Then she twisted the knife by saying I should be grateful she stayed as long as she did. I felt anger rise, but underneath it was clarity, because in that moment I saw her clearly for the first time. Not the woman I married, but someone who could look at the damage she caused and feel nothing. She accused me of trying to control the narrative, of playing the victim, and when I said I was done, she laughed and told me I wouldn't leave, that I never did anything decisive. She stood up, confident she still had power over me, and that's when I told her I'd already spoken to a lawyer, that I'd saved everything, that her performance was over. The color drained from her face for half a second before she masked it again, but I saw it, the fear, real this time. She grabbed her phone and walked toward the door, saying she needed space, and as it slammed shut behind her, I stood alone in the house that no longer felt like a home, realizing this wasn't the end of the story yet, because the person who lies this easily doesn't disappear quietly, and whatever she planned to do next would be her most dangerous move yet. She didn't disappear like she said she would. She resurfaced, strategically, posting smiling photos online like nothing happened while texting me legal threats, telling mutual friends I was emotionally abusive. She came back to the house when I wasn't there and took things that mattered only to me, and when I finally stopped reacting, she changed tactics, calling late at night, crying, saying he wasn't what she thought, saying we could fix this if I stopped being so cold. It was manipulation in a softer voice, and it almost worked until I heard his voice in the background of one call. I blocked her number, communicated only through lawyers, packed the last of my things, and walked out without looking back. The aftermath wasn't loud, it was quiet and brutal, nights where the silence felt heavier than the lies ever did. But in that silence, something started to return, clarity, strength, and just when I thought the storm was finally over, I received one final message from an unknown number containing a photo, her wearing my wedding ring, smiling beside him, with a caption that read, "Some stories don't end when you walk away." And in that moment, I realized the real battle wasn't behind me yet. The message sat on my screen longer than I want to admit, because it confirmed something I'd been denying. She needed to prove she still had power over me, and for the first time, I didn't give it to her. I deleted the photo, blocked the number, and felt something shift. Not relief, not happiness, but finality. Weeks passed, and I stopped wondering what I did wrong, and started remembering who I was before I shrank myself to fit her manipulation. The marriage ended. The story she told others eventually collapsed under its own contradictions. The real ending wasn't revenge, or closure, or an apology I never got. It was the morning I woke up and didn't think about her first. I understood the final truth. She didn't take anything from me that I couldn't rebuild, but I took something from her without ever trying. Her control. And that's where my story actually ended.